Okay, so long time no see. I miss talking to you a lot and I miss making these videos a lot, but I was really busy and I didn't have the time to do this. And not only did I not have the time, but also the energy to do this, and sometimes even the light to do this because maybe, let's say, I had some energy at the end of the night and then boom, no light, no way for you to see me in my videos. So that's the reason why I couldn't do it. But it's the weekend and I was fortunately able to finally do this. So also I was kind of stuck. It feels like I have so many things that I want to talk about when it comes to writing, but at the same time I felt like I was really stuck not knowing what I wanted to talk about at the moment. So I decided to also kind of include all of you guys in the topic because I asked you on my stories, what do you struggle the most with when writing? And the reason why I chose this topic is that recently so many of you are DMing me, and even more people have started messaging me, asking me whether I could read what they write and give some feedback. And at the same time, I feel like a lot of people are saying that they really struggle with writing, not because they cannot write, but because they have some insecurities connected to it or just fears or something like that. So I decided that I would tackle this topic and that I would try to understand what is it that makes us really scared and what we struggle with when it comes to writing. And it doesn't really have to be like technically not being able to put your thoughts into words, and that is valid as well. But at the same time, I feel like we can go into deeper topics and understand what it is and how we can relate to each other when it comes to those struggles. Okay. So I will be talking about the things that you guys have mentioned and you guys have said that you struggle with, and then I'm going to share my own struggles as well because obviously everybody has struggles, and I didn't want to include only the people who are considered to be writers on Instagram, but also the people who like to put their thoughts and emotions into words. So they basically write from time to time. Okay, so one of my friends said feelings or emotions, and then I was like, okay, so can you tell me in detail what you mean by that? And she wrote a bigger paragraph. She said, the thing that scares me the most is not so much the heart, but so much that the people I care about and that I know that one day they will read what I think and write. When I speak of feelings, therefore you're not speaking only of your own feelings, right, but also of those that do not belong to me. Involuntarily, our job as a writer is to convey something, but to do so, we must make sure that we are seen and recognized. Our job should be to make the reader feel less alone, but sometimes this limits us. And I feel like there are a few struggles here. There isn't just one struggle, and I absolutely understand what she means because you're not only sharing your own story, and that sometimes is a good thing because you're able to get inspired by other people's stories, but at the same time, first of all, you try to make justice to the story. You don't want to really turn it into something it's not. You also want it to be seen and heard by people because you want them to understand that cases like that happen, right? But also at the same time, it's really scary when you think that the people in real life or the people that you write things about, or B, just use as inspiration, might read your pieces one day. And I understand the struggle, and I think this struggle itself needs a whole other video when we think about it, when we discuss, when we go deep into why we think it's scary and why we think it is a struggle. But I relate to all of those particles of the same struggle in many different cases and in many different ways, and it's pretty valid, and I absolutely understand what you mean. Somebody said, I struggle to give words to my own feelings sometimes. Oh yeah, absolutely, I get it. I've always been the person who says that no matter what you're feeling, you have to be able to put your feelings and thoughts into words. Not have to, it doesn't mean like you have to force yourself to do it, but I was like, okay, so if you want to express what you're feeling, you will be able to find the words that you're looking for. But at the same time, recently I've been experiencing different emotional situations where I am having a hard time putting what I'm feeling into words. That could mean a few things. One could mean that I might not even understand what I'm feeling myself. Two, it might mean that I'm feeling so many things that it's hard to describe it with just a few words. And the third one, which I think might be often what is happening to me, is that I don't really want to be honest with myself on the paper. Sometimes I know deep inside what I'm feeling, but I just don't want to be honest with myself, because if you put it on the paper, it means that you kind of admit that you're feeling that way, right? Let's say, for example, you're missing the person that you shouldn't be missing, like logically speaking, right? So that person treated you terribly and that person is a bad person and you shouldn't be missing them, but you're actually missing them with your heart. And if you write about it, it feels like, okay, so I'm admitting that that's true. But sometimes you're like, let me just avoid it, and that's how you think that you're not able to find the words for your feelings, but actually you know it very well. You know what you're feeling. But that, so I feel like there are a few options and a few explanations for the same situation. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that third option, but that is usually what happens to me. Overthinking. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. That's a huge struggle. And I feel like so many of us are having that struggle because there are cases when I'm writing something and the thoughts keep me from posting, keep me from writing even further. Um, I start thinking like, what will people think about me if they read it? They might not understand it correctly. They might misinterpret it. How can I make them understand it the way that I want them to understand it? And then I'm like, okay, so what if it's not a good one? What if blah, 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 blah? And all of those thoughts, sometimes I get to a point where I'm like, okay, so I manually stop myself from overthinking even more because I can do it forever. And I feel like that's a huge struggle that all of the writers and even just the people who write from time to time are facing. That's a huge one. Rhythm. I can't write big poems rhythmically. That's a good one too. One of my friends on Instagram recently was having problems with that. She was like, I cannot write things that do not rhyme, and sometimes I feel like I want to go out of the rhythm. And here this person says I can't write big poems rhythmically, so it's kind of the opposite, but also the struggle is similar to each other. um, I would say, first of all, you don't really have to write every poem rhythmically, and that was a misconception that I had in the past. When I would write, I would always want my poems to rhyme. If it's 4 lines, I would want the first and the third one to rhyme, or the first and the second one to rhyme. You got the point, right? So it was a misconception, so it doesn't really mean that it has to be that way. If it doesn't rhyme, it's not a poem. And in the past, that's what I thought, and that was stopping me from writing the way that I wanted to. And I think it's gonna go with time, but you have to understand why that is really a problem for you. So I feel like you can write, if that could be even part of your style, so you can write small poems with a rhythm, and then longer poems that don't have a rhythm, that just flow like a narrative, like you're reading a book, and you're or even just a monologue that you're talking to somebody. And I feel like that's a really interesting but relatable also a struggle that I had in the past. But you know what? Even one of my professors was the one who kind of opened my eyes that it doesn't really have to rhyme all the time. There have been like things that are still considered to be poems, like a one-line thing. It has so much meaning, it has so much beauty in it, but it doesn't rhyme, and it doesn't mean that it's not a poem. So but if you feel like it has to rhyme for you to be content with whatever you wrote, then you can practice a lot. There's this thing that I was doing, so whenever I wanted my poem to rhyme specifically, so I would just let's say the line is ending with the word you. The night is bright when I am with you, right? So let's say you don't know what word could rhyme with the word you. And then you're searching that on Google. So you're doing this. Words that rhyme with you, and then it brings you a whole list of words with 2 syllables, 1 syllable, 3 syllables that are actually rhyming with the word you. New, flew, who, I don't know, lots of different words, right? So, and then you choose the word that could fit in that context, and then you're trying to bring the thought and connect it to the word, right? So, let's say, okay, so the night is bright when I'm with you, and then you decided that you would choose the word new. But now that I'm without you, it feels like something new. So it's like you, new, right? So based on the word that you chose, it kind of gives you direction and guidance into the meaning as well. It gives you guidance, but at the same time, it gives you some freedom as well, so you can understand whether you want to go into that direction or not. I'm sorry for staying so long on this question, but I just had to address it. Simply how to start it, like the first move. Okay, I love that. Yeah, that makes sense, and that's a relatable one to me too sometimes. It's really hard, especially for me. The interesting thing is that when I have to write a poem, it's not really hard for me to start, but when I have to write an essay, it's really hard for me to start. I'm always struggling with the beginnings because I know what I have to say, but I don't know how to give that first, knock on the door and then opening the door so that I kind of enter the story, or even the opposite, just so I hear a knock on the door and then I have to open the door and then welcome that person into the story that I'm gonna talk to them about. Sometimes I feel like a few things could be helpful in this case. One could be writing the main things that you're going to talk about and understanding how you can connect those dots and how you can connect make a sequence. Either it's a chronological one, let's say you're describing events that happened like on day 1, day 2, day 3, right? In other cases, you even start from the ending, like this happened, but let's go back and discover the story behind it. And also sometimes I feel like you being patient and letting the story evolve in you and then writing could help as well. Or for me, when I write, it's really important to have that strong start. So I'm trying to find a punchline for myself, especially when I'm writing a poem or a quote. I want that line to really hit me in the face, so like a punch or a slap, because let's say the one that came to mind was one of my recent quotes that I wrote. And once again I smiled when I wanted to cry. So for me, that was a punchline because it was kind of making me understand that I did it again. And the fact that I wrote "and once again" feels like even though I realize that I do it, I still do it, and I don't do anything about it to change it, to overcome that fear or that stressful situation that I'm in. And another option could be imagining that you're having a conversation with somebody and you have to open that topic. You know that you want to talk about something. How would you do it? Like, imagining that you're having a conversation with somebody that is close to you is a really helpful tool. Trust me. It helps you understand how you want to open that topic, but also have that bridge kind of a thing. You're not, talking about coffee with your best friend and you're like, you know what? I got my heart broken. So kind of, you're not literally completely switching the topic, but you're trying to find a way how to move from that coffee topic to your heartbreak because you want to talk about it. I hope that helped. Trying to find the right words. That is true. Sometimes when I'm starting to analyze the feelings that I'm having or the thoughts that I'm having, it happens to me that I really struggle with finding the right word, because sometimes I write a word which would fit in the context and which sounds really beautiful when I read it, but it doesn't feel right because I'm like, no, I'm not exactly feeling that way. So sometimes it even happened to me that I didn't find the right word to express what I was feeling, and I didn't post that quote or poem on my account because I thought that it didn't represent my feelings exactly, like accurately, so I didn't even post it. So finding the right word could be a struggle, but I feel like it could be two things. One, it could mean that you have to be kind of patient and don't rush into finding the right word. It might come to you. But even if it doesn't, the second option would be trying to understand how you can either rephrase that feeling or even describe or explain what you're feeling, or even creating a word would be a cute thing. And I really love creating words. I wouldn't say that I've done that a lot. I usually do it with my native language, but still, it's a good one. It's a very interesting thing to do. So I hope you try it. Okay, thinking everything I write is terrible. Oh God, oh God. I feel like every single person who has ever written anything could relate to this. And that's a huge struggle because I feel like that's even a part of, a huge part of a writer's personality. And even if when I was talking to my professor, I'm studying editing, but I was talking about the fact that I want to become a writer, and he was like, are you writing? I'm like, are you a writer? And I was like, well, I wouldn't call myself a writer. Technically, I'm writing and I'm posting my poetry and quotes on Instagram, but I'm not a writer, blah, 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 and all of that kind of stuff. He's like, oh yeah, you're absolutely a writer who has that imposter syndrome that is always thinking that the work that they're doing is not that good, whatever they are is not that good, whatever, it always happens from different perspectives. And I couldn't agree more on this. And I have to say that I think we should really work on ourselves, because we're always so self-critical when it comes to our own writing. And sometimes, yeah, we're even critical with other people's work as well, but we're too critical with whatever we write, even though it means a lot to us. So whatever I write means a lot to me, and it always comes from my heart, even if I wasn't in that situation that I'm writing about, but it really comes from the heart. But then when I don't give it the credit that it deserves, it really makes me feel like I'm kind of betraying myself. So I'm writing coming from the heart, and then how would I want others to believe what I'm writing if sometimes I don't even think it's good enough, right? So there's this thing that we have to try to understand and try to overcome. It takes a lot of energy and effort, but I don't think that's impossible. We should just keep trying, no matter what people say and no matter what your inner critical self says. The creating process, I want it to be good because of that. I don't start, I want to be honest. Oh yeah, that is one of the things that happened to me too. So I'm writing quotes and poems, yes, but I also want to write a book. I've written a book in the past, one or two, but the book that I want to write, the more I don't write it, the more scared I become. And it's really, really scary because you want to start writing something, but then you feel like it might not be good and you just don't start. And I don't think that's a good thing to do, but I think that it's such a human thing to do. You're kind of avoiding the thing that you're really scared of, and just because you're afraid that it might not be good, you don't even start, not to let yourself down. I'm in this situation at the moment, but I decided that I really want to overcome it, and I start pushing myself to write at least a paragraph every single day. I've been able to do it like 1 or 2 days. I wouldn't say I've been successful, but I'm still gonna try because I don't think that that's the right way to do it. If I want to become a writer, I have to be able to push myself out of that comfort zone and out of that fear, because it doesn't really let you develop in any case of your life, in any aspect of your life. If you're always afraid of not being good, okay, it's fine. If you feel like you're not going to be good, whatever, just do it. And then you're like, okay, if it's not good, I'm going to improve it. I'm going to work on it as much as possible so that it becomes good. So I hope you're not afraid of all of those things, and I hope you really give it a try, because I'm gonna do the same too. And I understand what you feel, but I'm trying to overcome it, so I'm giving you the energy to do that as well. How to express. Oh yeah, that's a good one. And sometimes it's really hard. We're having a hard time expressing what we're feeling, and like I said, it might have many different reasons. And I feel like one of the things that you should do is understanding why you cannot express it. Is it because you don't want to talk about it, but you think that you do? Or is it because you're having a hard time taking the feelings from the heart and the thoughts from your brain and connecting them and putting it into words? What is it that is keeping you from expressing those feelings? And once you get the answer, you might be able to move forward. Getting out of words and topic, lol. Okay. That's an interesting one as well. So you're struggling to get out of words and topic. So does that mean that, for example, when somebody gives you a topic, you feel like you're limited and you cannot write about it? If that's what you mean, then it might mean that you still need to think about it for some time to be able to understand what to write about. Or if that's not what you mean, I'm a little confused about this one, but I feel like just getting out of words and topic sometimes could mean that maybe you should try to discover more words. So I think that you could mean that it feels like you're out of words and you don't know what to write about. I feel like outlining might help, and also sometimes looking through different books and dictionaries would be a helpful practice to understand what words you're lacking and why you feel like you're out of words. Trying to get a hold of my emotions. Oh, yeah. That's a huge one. And basically that's also part of what I also talked about in this video. When there's so many emotions happening in your head and in your heart that you don't understand how to tackle all of those emotions separately or together, or writing about it makes it really hard. But I would say sometimes when I'm really confused about what I'm feeling, I'm literally writing about that. Until I try to analyze and understand what I'm actually feeling, I try to write about the things that I don't actually know what I'm feeling. I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, I'm having a hard time understanding what I'm feeling because this is happening and this is happening. So I try to write about all of those things, because sometimes people normalize the fact that you should always understand what you're feeling, which is hard, because so many things are happening in different aspects of our lives, and sometimes it's really hard to understand what you're feeling when it comes to a certain specific case or a person. So even writing about the fact that you don't know what you're feeling and how you're feeling at the moment could be a helpful thing. And I could even say that by the end of the poem or by the end of the essay or whatever you're writing, you might understand what you're feeling. It has happened to me. Confused with emotions and messed up with different thoughts a single time. Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. Sometimes you're really confused, and the only thing that is that I would say that we should do in those cases is not pressuring ourselves with all of those thoughts. Okay, so I'm confused, whatever. Is it bad? It's not bad. So I usually start pressuring myself into understanding what I feel, what I think about a certain thing. I'm like, you have to understand what you feel. But if you don't pressure yourself, that's going to be even better. You can figure it out in many different options, in many different ways. Writing Spanish. Okay, so that's something that I cannot help you with because I don't speak Spanish. I only sing in Spanish from time to time. But okay, so let's just think of it as writing in a foreign language. And that could be hard because sometimes not writing in your native language or the language that you don't really know that well, or you haven't ever written in, might be a struggle. But I would say reading in that language will help. Listening to different things, videos, movies, and songs might help you. And also, practice will help you for sure. There's no such thing as not being able to do something. You have to practice a lot, especially when it comes to writing. I feel like everybody can write, but you just have to practice more to be able to do it. When I stop writing, I get better ideas, like I could have done it too. Okay, but that's not bad, you know? You can do two things in those cases. Actually, three things. The first thing could be like going back to that piece and then changing it a little bit. Like you stopped writing and then you got amazing ideas, you can go back and change it. The second one would be writing a totally different piece with the new ideas that you're having and then comparing. And also, the third one could be leaving that first version and then writing a second version with the new ideas, and then understanding how you turned that one version into a better one, or how the evolution of your thoughts and emotions was. So I feel like you can get creative with even that, because that's such an amazing thing to do. Sometimes people don't even have ideas when it comes to a topic. So imagine you're having ideas, like initial ideas that you write about, and then you're having even better ideas after you stopped writing. So you can write about that too, and that could turn into such an incredible writing process. And I answered all of you guys' struggles, and now let me talk about the three struggles that I separated for myself. I have a lot of struggles when it comes to writing, don't get me wrong, it's not just three things, but I wanted to kind of tackle this three. Oh no, not three, I wrote five and I forgot about it. Okay, I'm sorry if this video is getting longer, but I thought that discussing this is really, really important because so many of you are messaging me about your struggles and about how you think that I don't ever have struggles with when it comes to writing, but I do. Okay, so the first one is being really, really, really honest, and I'm always honest in my writing. I don't really lie when it comes to writing, and it's hard. It's like, yeah, sometimes I'm feeling writing about other people's feelings, but that's based on the things that I'm feeling about that relationship or about that situation. So sometimes being too honest, especially when people in real life are following me, like the people that I know are following me, and they're gonna ask me questions, they're gonna want some clarification, or just specific questions like, is it about me, is it about this case, makes it so much harder to talk about it. Sometimes I really want to post something, and it has actually happened to me a lot that I wanted to post something because I felt like terrible or really, really sad that day, but I didn't do it because I knew that the people close to me who are following me are going to contact me and stuff like that. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I really, really appreciate their concern and their support, but sometimes I feel like that is limiting me, and I have to find that way of separating between reality and also my poetry account, or trying to write and then be able to say, yeah, I'm feeling sad, it's okay, it's gonna pass, just don't try to concentrate on that a lot and stuff. But that's the thing that I'm having, wanting to sound poetic when I'm not feeling that way. Okay, sometimes it has happened to me. I don't know whether that's happened to you guys, and let me know if it has. Sometimes I just feel, let's say, angry, right? So I feel really angry, and I want to just say that I am mad at the world. I'm mad at the things that are happening. I'm mad at this person or that person, but at the same time I remember that I'm a poet and I'm a writer and I want that to sound poetic. And I try to poeticize something that at the moment doesn't really feel poetic to me. So when you're angry, you're not like, okay, let me think of my anger as the volcano that is exploding or just bursting. You don't really do that. Let's just be real. After that, when you're feeling a little less angry, maybe, but not at the moment. So that's a struggle that I'm having. Sometimes I'm like, okay, let's poeticize what I'm feeling, and then I'm like, no, I'm actually really, really mad at this because this person did this, or this happened in the whole world, or I'm mad at life and stuff. So now, another struggle that I'm having is not being repetitive. Sometimes I really think that my pieces get repetitive, and but that's just because I keep feeling that way, or I just go back to feeling that way. And I was having a huge struggle, and more in the past than now. Sometimes I'm like, okay, whatever, I'm feeling that way, and that's why I'm posting it right now. So and in the past I was like, no, it feels like the other piece you posted the other day, and it just made me really mad and concerned about the whole account once again, and insecure about it. And then I was like, okay, so now I'm trying not to think about it a lot, because it's okay that I'm writing a repetitive, well, a similar piece to the one that I've written before, because it means that, again, I'm feeling the same way that I was feeling when I wrote the other piece. So it's just a question of perspective. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm like, okay, no, that's repetitive, I'm not gonna post it. Wanting people to interpret it exactly like I wanted them to. So sometimes with most of my pieces, I'm okay with people interpreting it the way that they want to, but there are pieces that are so close to my heart that I want people to understand it the way that I was intending to write this piece. So I don't want them to look at it from many different perspectives, and that was a struggle that I had and still do from time to time, because I'm like, no, they have to understand it this way, because this is exactly what I meant. Sometimes I'm okay with it. I'm like, okay, whatever, they can interpret it the way that they want to, because it has to be, because it's a written piece and I cannot force my own opinion on them. But also, there are pieces that are so genuine, and they literally come from the heart, from the deepest parts of my heart, and I'm like, no, I cannot let them interpret it this way. So I found a solution for myself, a few solutions. One is either over explaining the whole thing, which I don't really like, I'm not really fond of that option, or describing and explaining it a little bit in the caption. But that's still something that I'm struggling with. And the last one is self-doubt. And I think the whole word itself is self-explanatory. I don't even have to explain what it means, because I even talked about this in this video, but still it's a hard thing. It's hard not to doubt yourself, not to doubt your writing, and I struggle with this daily. Some days it feels like it comes to me more, some days it feels like it's easier for me to overcome that self-doubt, but I would say that just like loving yourself, it's a constant journey of improving and working and practicing, and really trying to practice not only self-love but also control, when you're like, okay, stop. When it comes the moment that it really stops you from doing the things that you love and actually doing the things that you want to do, you have to be able to just stop yourself and just push that self-doubt back, so you can really try to overcome it. So here are the things that all of you guys wanted me to talk about, and my struggles as well. So all of us are constantly going to have some struggles when it comes to writing, because it's a long journey. Sometimes you're improving something and then you understand that something else is lacking, but I feel like we have to be able to switch our perspectives and look at it as a place for improvement and something that we can get inspired by. Sometimes it's hard. I'm not even saying that that's easy, but our struggles are the things that will really make us turn us into strong individuals and strong writers as well. So I hope that you felt understood, and I feel like all of those things could be relatable to all of you guys. And if you feel like there's something that you want to talk about or something that you want to discuss more or explain more, please write it in the comments below. I would be really glad to hear what you think about these struggles. What are the things that you don't ever struggle with? Or do you have anything that I talked about and that was the most relatable to you? I would be gladly to read about that as well. So I hope you had a fun time watching this video, because it was really, really interesting, and I really enjoy this kind of videos when I'm just sitting and discussing something with you, especially when it's a topic that is relatable to, if not everybody, then most of the people in the whole world. So I hope you had a beautiful time watching this video, and I am going to see you in the next video. Mwah! Thank you for watching!